My name's Grace Miller. I'm a digital content producer here at CBS 21 News, and I'm the writer behind two of our recent Amish stories looking at a bigger Amish population in Pennsylvania and how that's impacting places like Littlestown. I first learned about the Pennland Greenhouse actually from the mayor of Littlestown. When we did the first story about how Pennsylvania Amish populations are growing so much after talking to those researchers at Elizabethtown College, the mayor actually got back to me and mentioned that Pennland Greenhouse was one of those Amish businesses that is newer to Littlestown, right? And so once we were in Littlestown, kind of following up on that first story, I actually got to meet Amos Stoltzfoos, who's the owner of that business, kind of just by chance. Honestly, my photographer and I went to the business just to see if we could maybe grab some video. But we were approached by a younger girl who, was like, how can I help you? And we said, to be honest with you, we work with the news and we're just trying to get some video. But if you would happen to know if anyone's available. And she said, come around, drive down to the house. I think my dad's here. And we were like, really, right now? And she said, yeah, it's fine. And we're like, okay. So we were definitely both so surprised by the immediate, welcoming. It was surprising. So we got down there and, he shook our hands, introduced himself to us and invited us inside for a conversation, which was really great. I spoke to Amos inside his home, which was gorgeous. First of all, a two-story farmhouse, and the lights were off. So in that regard, you kind of notice it's a little dim. Maybe you're sitting, in the house of an Amish person. But overall, there wasn't anything anything that really stood out. A lot of wooden furniture, really nice looking things that looked like they were well crafted. But yeah, he was just so welcoming, honestly, and his family was all very kind and they waved at us. And so Amos told me that he moved from Mount Joy in Lancaster County to Littlestown back in 2020. And the reason for his move was actually because he was looking to buy a farm, and the farmland is significantly cheaper, he said, at the time when he was shopping in Littlestown compared to Lancaster County. I believe he said that the land in Littlestown was closer to $7,000 an acre compared to tens of thousands of dollars in the Lancaster County area. He talked about how he first visited Littlestown in 2018, so this is 2 years before he bought his farm. And at the time, he had no interest in actually buying farmland, but he did say that he noticed, the farms looked like they were being tended to, but a lot of the farm buildings themselves looked a little dilapidated. And he said, that's how you know that the farmer has kind of lost interest in their property. So he saw that kind of as an opportunity in the long run. Amos said that when he first moved to Littlestown, his family was one of just 11 Amish families in the area. And this is the settlement that contains Littlestown, but also stretches down into Carroll County, Maryland. But now, today, 5 years later, he says that there's closer to 85, 90 families in that settlement. So certainly it's not nearly as big as the 40,000 Amish individuals you have in Lancaster County, according to those Elizabethtown researchers. But it does kind of help you get an idea of what that trend looks like. There are more families coming over here in recent years, and that's something that certainly the community says they're seeing. So our first story about the Amish population in Pennsylvania focused more on the bigger population growth overall, right? And how that is pushing some people from the Lancaster area to places further west like Littlestown. So we figured for this story, it was better to actually get into Littlestown and see if we can find these people that we're talking about, right? So after hearing from the mayor about a businesswoman, Lisa Noble, who is not Amish herself, but she runs a business next to a farm that was just bought by an Amish family, and she's very supportive of that community. She was our first stop in Littlestown, and she talked about, how she loves to see them in the area, and how she actually gets a lot of Amish visitors, and they have a driver who brings them in, and they'll shop around for textiles and fabrics and that kind of thing. And so they love the ice cream she offers, she said, and she's hoping that, a bigger Amish population will just hopefully boost the business economy in that area.
They are still under construction. They're building the house. They purchased it over the summer. So the wife came in and introduced herself and said that they would be finishing the house in January. So they'll be neighbors in January. So we're excited to have them. They're going to be farming the land, which makes me very happy to know that we're going to continue to have the farmland there, and that there are so many of the Amish moving into our area now. So it's a wonderful area. It's beautiful here. And adding them is just a bonus. I think the community is excited that the Amish are here, the farmland's being preserved, and we love seeing the horse and buggies around town. A local bank has put in where they can tie the horses up. So like things like that are just encouraging, and it's just wonderful to see. It's really nice. They come in and shop, so which is fun. They have a driver, so the women are get their driver and they come in the van and they shop, and we get materials and things, so they buy those items, and so I love seeing them in here. They enjoy the ice cream as well, so that's a plus for them as well. So
after talking to Lisa, we did head over to the police chief to talk about how he has seen the reception of more Amish families in Littlestown, and he also just kind of gave an overview that it has been mostly positive. He said that you tend to see more horse and buggy travel on the road on Sundays, and that they tend to live on farms just right outside the borough. But overall, he didn't say that there's been any community concerns or anything like that, besides one borough meeting complaint they had about horse droppings on the road. But he's not concerned about that, he said.
They come into town and they ride, they go to the stores and stuff, but I mean, most of the farmland is outside of the borough. But yeah, they've been here and we work with them, and they're welcome in the community, certainly. I think it's been very positive. I mean, a lot of the concerns in this area is land development. So when the Amish buy the farms, they stay farms. You do need development to support your tax base, but yeah, basically they're preserving some of the farmlands. I mean, we really don't get Amish moving into the borough because we're landlocked for one, and they're looking for farms, and we don't have farms in the borough. So, but they come into town. They're very respectful. We get a little bit of horse and buggy traffic, but it's not. You see them a lot on Sundays and stuff sometimes. Well, they do have the markets. We don't have really too many Amish businesses here, but the local community, I mean, they're still subject to taxes and stuff like that. So land development and transfer fees and all that, it all comes into the county or the local municipality where they're buying their farms. So yeah, that helps. And they sell their products and stuff, so that goes, helps the community.
I just think we're a small community that we are. We like to keep it small, and I think the Amish are the perfect neighbor. So we know that they're farming the land for us. They love to have the butcher shops and the great treats and pies and things that we all love to buy. So they have a beautiful, out on Georgetown Road outside of town, they have a beautiful greenhouse where they sell amazing flowers and stuff. So that is one that's been there a couple years now, but they've really made a beautiful farm out there with greenhouses, and so it's where I get all my summer flowers. So it's so nice.
Amos mentioned that the community has been super welcoming to him, and he's of course happy to see an influx of more Amish families in the area. He said it's very encouraging, but he hasn't had any issues obviously in the community, and he actually said that his business wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the non-Amish community members there, because they do make up the majority of their customers. So overall, he said it's been really encouraging and pretty positive. I think people are really, really interested in things that they don't necessarily understand, and especially at a time where everything is on the internet. You have, this group of people who very categorically live offline in places like Littlestown and rural Lancaster County. So I think every time that you have an opportunity to kind of look into their life and see what's going on, there's some public interest there. But overall, everyone that we spoke to in Littlestown, and even most of the comments I've seen on our social media page and stuff, seems to be pretty positive. People are happy to see that farmland is being preserved, and Amos himself told me that he sees himself more as a farmer than a business owner. And so it seems that everything is kind of aligning in that regard. He did talk a little bit about how kids are on their phones too much these days, and how he thinks it's important to raise kids, with a sense of not having excess, kind of relying on just the things that you can survive with in that sense. So he made the point that they don't deny technology because it's evil, just because they're simply better off without it. One of the things he said to me is that he hopes, people don't see him or any of the other Amish community members as standoffish, And that meant a lot to me because that's far from the truth of the situation, you know what I mean? He was so welcoming.